Thumbs up all around. Okay, good morning, everyone. Before I take a few questions, I'd like to deliver, we're going to do two different presentations this morning. First, I'd like to deliver brief remarks about two new initiatives passed today on the Board of Estimates that will continue to put more people, more Baltimore City residents back to work. I'm glad to be joined today by my friends and colleagues, the director, or newly minted director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Mr. Jason Perkins Cohen. Thank you for being here. Is this your first presentation?
Very first.
Be gentle, Mr. Perkins Cohen. Reagan Brewer Johnson. Reagan, yeah, I remember. Associate Director of Jane Addams Resource Corporation, or JARC. Ellen Carroll, Program Director of Jane Addams Resource Corporation. I want to thank both, don't tell me, Reagan and Elaine, right?
Yes.
From JARC. Thank you for being there as well. And thank you for your dedication to improving the quality of life for our Baltimore City residents. As many of you know, I have a goal of growing our city by 10,000 families over the next 10 years. And we also know that in order to grow a city, yes, we have to attract new residents, but we have to do more, continue to do more, to give those residents here more reasons to stay. And that means creating opportunities for all of Baltimore's citizens, not just those with college degrees. Under my administration, Baltimore's created 12,000 new jobs, and our unemployment rate has reduced by a third. This progress didn't occur by accident. Our city is growing because we have been intentional in our efforts to ensure that no one is left behind, including our hardest to employ residents. When I learned that the Magna Center in Park Heights was closing, I was determined to find a way to continue to provide training that our residents need. We also wanted to make sure that the needs of our employers across the region were met. My vision was to create a center that offers a menu of high-demand, industry-specific skills training with an emphasis on advanced manufacturing. And thanks to the Mayor's Office of Employment Development and the Mayor's Office of Employment Development and my economic development team, the Mayor's Office of Economic and Neighborhood Development, we will soon be opening the new Regional Skills Training Center at the former Magna campus. The repurposed and state-of-the-art facility will host advanced manufacturing job training through the Jane Addams Resource Center, or JARC. JARC is a nationally recognized training model and a pioneer leader in training and workforce development for the manufacturing sector. JARC Baltimore will replicate the success of the Careers and Manufacturing Center programs that have garnered praise across our nation. Since 2006, these programs have averaged 90% rates for completion, placement, and retention. That was very important for me, that it was important not just to get the training opportunity there and that it be state-of-the-art, but there be a track record of employing some of our hardest to employ. I wanted to make sure that the investments that were made would yield real results for our residents. I want to thank our dedicated partners for their cooperation and for their assistance throughout this process, including Dollar, DBED, the Baltimore Workforce Funders Collaboration, the ABLE Foundation, the Weinberg Foundation, the Center for Urban Families, and of course, Magna Corporation. I also want to thank the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Department of Housing and Community Development, all for helping us develop a plan that ensures that Baltimore has a well-prepared workforce, while also supporting Park Heights and the surrounding communities. Through programs like JARC, I know that we will keep our city and our economy growing. With that, I want to bring up Reagan Brewer Johnson of JARC for some remarks. Reagan.
Thank you. So good morning. Thank you all for having me. I'd like to thank Mayor Rawlings-Blake and all of the members of the Board of Estimates. Thank you so much for having me this morning. My name is Reagan Brewer. I'm the Associate Director of the Jane Addams Resource Corporation, more commonly known as JARC. At JARC, we promote strong communities, businesses, and households to ensure that people that work do not live in poverty. We do that by helping low-income workers and community residents achieve financial self-sufficiency through a combination of high-quality skills training and supportive services. We have been working towards this end for the last 30 years. While our roots are in Chicago, we believe our mission resonates with the residents and businesses of the city of Baltimore. We believe in supporting and building the regional manufacturing base because it is a good source of jobs with family-sustaining wages, benefits, and authentic career paths. Therefore, we offer job training for low-income, disadvantaged residents and dislocated workers. We train in computer numerical control, or CNC machining, and welding, two career paths that are currently in high demand here in the Baltimore area. We refer to these programs as our careers in manufacturing programs. Those programs are unique. We not only provide skills training for in-demand occupations, but we give people industry-relevant credentials that make them more competitive in today's job market. We also provide money management training, and we coach them on how to keep their jobs. Year in and year out, our careers in manufacturing programs in the Chicago area experience high rates of training completion, job placement, and retention, always at or above a 90% in each of those categories. JARC also has expertise in working with people with significant barriers to employment. Over 60% of our trainees have a criminal background, about a quarter are homeless, and many struggle with childcare, transportation, and work readiness skills. For most of our trainees, it's not one barrier that prevents them from being successful, it's multiple. So we believe that it's not simply enough to get a job, but you have to have the economic tools needed to keep your head above water. That is why our programs are so successful, because we work with the whole person. It was about a year ago that JARC was approached by a group of Maryland stakeholders, including representatives at Dollar, the mayor's office, and folks from the private foundation community here, to replicate our careers in manufacturing programs at the former Magna Center in the Park Heights neighborhood. Timing-wise, this coincided well with conversations that JARC was having internally between our senior leadership and our board about expanding our programs. All of our stakeholders in Chicago were very excited about our accomplishments, but they all said the same thing, that we need to be in more places serving more people. Since that time last year, we have worked hard to get our programs up and running here in Baltimore, and are pleased to announce that we intend to launch our training programs on April 27th. As of today, we've secured local funding thanks to generous investments from Dollar, the Weinberg Foundation, the Able Foundation, and the Association of Baltimore Area Grantmakers. We have hired a local team to work here on the ground, and we've met with countless community groups and stakeholders that have welcomed us with open arms. We look forward to embarking on this new phase and bringing hope and opportunity to the people of Baltimore. We are most excited, however, about being part of a shared vision. This is a unique situation where public and private sectors have come together to realize that shared vision, and we're very complimented to be a part of it. The lease at the former Magna Center will provide JARC with the tools and infrastructure to accomplish this task ahead of us. So on behalf of our board, our staff, our industry advisory council, and all the future applicants to our program, thank you so much, Mayor Rawlings-Blake, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Reagan. And now I would like to bring up our Director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Mr. Jason Perkins-Cohen. Jason.
Good morning, everyone. When you're the new director of the Office of Employment Development and you have your first press conference in your first month, where you get to announce that the opening of a new regional skills training center with a fabulous new partner, it's like Christmas morning for me, so thank you. This is a great day for Baltimore, and Madam Mayor, I found you. I want to thank you for your vision in making this regional skills training center a reality. It is incredibly important to our citizens and our residents of Baltimore. The center will stand as a place of opportunity for residents throughout the city, a place where they can go and receive the occupational skills training they need to be prepared, not just for a job, but for a high-wage career in manufacturing, which is so important. Not only are we opening a new center, but we're welcoming a new partner to our community in JARC. I've gotten the opportunity to work with these folks directly, Elaine and Reagan and the team at JARC, and they are phenomenal. The operation in Chicago is amazing, and again, I want to commend the mayor again about bringing the highest performers to our city and recruiting them here so that we're going to provide more opportunities for our residents. As I said, they come with a proven track record, and what's great about JARC is that they're not only meeting the needs of our community, but they're meeting the needs of our business partners as well. And they hit the ground running, immediately recognizing that we cannot train for training's sake, that we have to meet the needs of our businesses, and they've already been out in our community. They have a business council already formed so that when people graduate from these programs, there is a next step. It's not just a certificate. It's a high-wage job, and that is so important to all of us. We're really excited to work with Reagan and Elaine and the JARC team at MOED. We're going to make sure that our residents are prepared, they know about this opportunity, and they're prepared to take advantage of this opportunity to help strengthen and grow our city. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. All right, does anyone have questions about the job training program?
Does it teach literacy?
Yes, so we do some basic adult literacy. When people come and apply to the program, we do some remedial education in math and reading if they need it.
What kind of program capacity are we talking about? How many folks can you train in a given period of time?
So in the next year, we're looking to train 60 to 70 individuals. As we grow and develop, we can increase that capacity.
How do you pick applicants for this? Is there like an application process, or do you find them in different organizations? How do you get people in the program?
Sure. So there is an application and orientation process. We're currently conducting orientations at 9 a.m. every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. Folks can come in to 4910 Park Heights Avenue at our facility and apply. They fill out an application. They have a basic math and reading screening at that time, and they'll come back probably a week later or so for an interview process.
Are these programs, the computer training and welding taught in the city school system? I mean, there's vocational technical, I don't know who likes to call it that. But,
Mackenzie, if you know, I don't know the answer. I mean, I know that I've been to the training program. Do you know?
There's computer training in the school system, not welding training per se.
What happened with Magna? When did it close? I remember that. There's been a lot of good publicity about it when it first came out in 2006 or so.
Yeah, I'm not sure the date. Mackenzie might have that information.
They left in December of 2012 after about a 10-year lease. They had a plant here that they were supplying for, and that plant closed down. They continued to train for several years after the plant closed down, but it didn't fit their financial model. So they were very helpful with wanting us to start an additional program. They donated a significant amount of funds, and they also donated all of the equipment that's currently located in the building.
Did they have a similar capacity, or are we talking different capacities with this program versus what Magna was doing?
Magna had a different capacity. They were only training about 10 to 12 people per year, and the training was much longer. It was about 2 years.
In Chicago, what percentage of your graduates have full-time employment within, say, 6 months of completing the program?
So it's around 92 to 93% for both our CNC and our welding programs.
And what's the percentage a year later?
It's about 90% that they're retaining their jobs for a year.
I'm sorry, I may have missed it, but what's the length of your program here?
Certainly. So our welding training is 12 weeks and our CNC training is 18 weeks. That's full time. We expect our trainees to be in training every day, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just one more. What kind of staffing do you have at the center, or are you going to have at the center?
So we already have a number of staff in place. We have a couple of instructors for welding and basic literacy skills. Elaine Carroll is our director of programs, and we have a program coordinator as well as an employment coach and a job developer.
What is the starting welding like?
It depends on what kind of welding you do, but so on average it's about $13 to $14 if you're doing an entry level. But folks, I know a lot of our trainees after a year or so are making $18, $19, $20 an hour.
And what is your perspective on big picture on manufacturing in America? Obviously, it's been a long decline over decades. What's the current state?
So, you know, a lot of jobs have gone away, and you know that for the most part they're not coming back. But what we are seeing is that technological advances are making jobs more highly skilled. So there's more opportunity for career paths. The other thing that we're seeing is almost all of our employer partners tell us that the average age of their employee is 56 or 57 years old. So they're facing a huge skills shortage when those folks retire. So in addition to technological advances requiring more higher skill sets, there's going to be a lot of this retirement happening over the course of the next decade. So manufacturers are worried. Their number one concern is where are they going to find a qualified workforce. So that's one of the things that JARC values and works towards that end, both on the job seeker side, helping our community residents get in access to these jobs, but also helping the employer maintain their workforce so that they can be more competitive.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, and before we end, I want to thank Mackenzie Garvin and my entire economic and neighborhood development team. I know that she has worked very hard on this, so this is like, you know, that I feel like we're in the delivery room, and that, you know, I don't know, it's a boy, it's a girl, it's JARC, and it's, yeah, and congratulations, but I know that they've worked very, very hard, and thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to swap out JARC for budget. All right, again, before I take a few of your questions, I'd like to make a brief announcement. Then allow our Budget Director, Andrew Klein, to review some of his key findings. When you review our proposed budget, it is clear that Baltimore's economy continues to recover from the Great Recession. Data shows that our core industries, including healthcare, finance, and tourism, are growing, meaning more jobs for city residents. The fiscal policies put forward by this administration has laid the foundation for the creation of 12,000 new jobs and a 1/3 reduction in the city's unemployment rate since I took office. At the end of 2014, the unemployment rate was at its lowest year-end rate since 2008. In addition to job growth, this budget also supports a challenge that I laid out to my agencies as we sought to get Baltimore growing again. I made it clear to agency heads that they would have to learn to do even more with less. Everyone was put on notice that they would have to find reforms and find efficiencies within their budgets to better meet the needs of our residents without raising taxes or fees. This budget supports critical services such as public safety and blight elimination, as well as our efforts to clean up our city's streets. The city's workforce is now the smallest on record in a generation, demonstrating that agency leaders got the message I was sending from City Hall. Again, I think we've responsibly shrunk the city's long-term structural budget deficit without cutting or gutting city services that were most important to our residents. This budget is another strong step in the right direction, but our work is not done. My pledge to the citizens of Baltimore is to continue to fight every day for more fiscally responsible and efficient government. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to present briefly on a preliminary budget. And now for the very interesting stuff, I will bring up Mr. Andrew Klein for a brief PowerPoint on the budget, and we'll open it up for questions. Andrew?
Good morning. So I have a few slides for you. I think you have the slides in front of you. Okay. So the headlines for us for fiscal 2016, first of all, we're seeing the largest general fund revenue increase since before the Great Recession. We're making continued progress on our 10-year financial plan. You'll see that we've put an emphasis at the direction of the mayor on making our services more proactive. We have a record level of general obligation bond spending in this budget, and that will support school construction, community and economic development, recreation centers, and more. And finally, we've dug back through the city's records, and as far as we can tell, this is the smallest workforce in the city's modern history. And that's consistent with the mayor's pledge in the 10-year plan to reduce the size of the workforce responsibly, without layoffs, but by working smarter, working more efficiently. Taking a look at the top line numbers, the operating budget, all funds, is up $81.5 million over the fiscal 2015 adopted budget. That's a 3.2% increase. The capital plan is at $661.8 million. That's a lower than last year, primarily because last year's budget included $360 million for the Back River wastewater treatment plant improvement project, and with capital plans, those fluctuate year to year. These are often multi-year projects that we're funding. General fund, focusing in on that, 1.71 billion. That's operating and capital, and that's up 62 million from fiscal 2015. And the general fund positions are now under 10,000 at 9,835, a reduction of 291. And I've got a slide right here showing a little more history on the number of positions in the general and motor vehicle funds. Those two funds were combined in fiscal 2013. And you can see this was not an all-time peak by any means, but in 2009, really riding the wave of the housing bubble, the positions were getting close to 11,500, and now they're down below 10,000. Some of that reduction was during the fiscal crisis. We froze hiring and eliminated vacant positions, and also had a number of layoffs during those tough years. But these reductions this year are primarily due to our new contracts with the fire and police departments that change their schedules, increase their pay, but reduce their numbers. Looking at the revenue trend, again, on a current revenue basis, this is the largest increase budget to budget since before the Great Recession. So that's certainly a reflection of a recovering housing market and economy in general. The real driving force here is property tax revenue, and let's see on the next slide the recent history of the assessments. After 4 consecutive years of declining assessments, 2016 is our second consecutive year of growth in assessments. I want to highlight our progress on the 10-year financial plan. You can go back. The plan had 4 cornerstones of the city's fiscal foundation: structural budget balance, tax competitiveness, infrastructure investment, and addressing long-term liabilities. So here's how we're doing. The red portion of those bars represents our current services shortfall. So that's the gap between revenue and projected costs to maintain the current level of services. When we introduced the 10-year financial plan, we were projecting a $745 million cumulative operating deficit through fiscal 22. What this shows is that we've cut that baseline deficit by more than half to $352 million. The green portion of the bar represents the cost of the 10-year plan initiatives to provide tax relief, increase infrastructure investment, grow the city's reserves, and take other steps to improve our city government. So I guess 2 takeaways. One, we've made a tremendous amount of progress on reducing that baseline deficit, but 2, we still have a big challenge in front of us to not only completely close that structural deficit, but also to continue to fund the good things that are coming out of the 10-year financial plan. One of the big reasons why we've reduced that structural budget deficit is that we've gotten our legacy costs or our fixed costs under control. These are costs that are difficult to manage and change in the short term. You can see we're talking about pension contribution, retiree health, our mandated contribution to the schools, the debt service on our borrowing, and other items including workers' compensation, insurance, utilities, those types of things. And we've made significant progress, particularly in the pension and retiree health areas, where we saw these fixed costs grow by 22% between fiscal '07 and fiscal '12. Since fiscal '12, they've been flat. And one of the outcomes of the reforms that we've made in pension and retiree health is that our unfunded liabilities have shrunk by more than $850 million, which is about 27%, just over the last 3 years. And what you can see, the OPEB is our retiree health unfunded liability. That has shrunk by almost 2/3. Now you'll notice that the unfunded liabilities for our fire and police and employee retirement system pension programs have grown, but a lot of that is actually due to changes in actuarial methods and assumptions to be more conservative, more responsible. I would argue that those systems are in a much better place than they have been in a long time. They're on a more sustainable path. We're not fooling ourselves about the rate of return that we're going to see, but that also means that we're going to have to look at some higher unfunded liabilities in the short term. On the property tax, the mayor's 20 cents by 2020 targeted homeowners tax credit program is on track. This year, you'll see both on the general rate, 2.248 per $100 of assessed value, and the effective rate for owner-occupied properties at 213. Those are staying the same, but we're halfway through the 8 years of the 20 cents by 2020, and we're at about 60% of the goal of getting to that 20-cent reduction. So we're ahead of schedule. The casino revenue has not been as strong, you all know that. So more of the cost of the tax relief is having to be absorbed elsewhere. We're confident we will hit the 2020, but this year our current estimate is that that rate will be the same as in 15. On capital investment, already the 10-year plan has pumped nearly $100 million in new capital dollars into blight elimination and infrastructure. These are dollars that would not have been there were it not for the plan. And in fiscal 16, we have a record level of general obligation bond issue, as I mentioned. That's $15 million above the levels that it's been in recent years. We're extending our county transportation bond borrowing. Before the 10-year plan, that was a short-term fix because we lost a lot of highway user revenue. We've seen federal transportation dollars shrinking. The 10-year plan extends that borrowing through 2022 at $15 million a year. And again, this only partially compensates for what we've lost, but it's very helpful, particularly when you see, obviously the hard winters we're having and what that does to our roads. We have $17 million of general fund pay-go capital, and the baseline going into the 10-year plan was $8 million, so we're continuing to more than double our pay-go capital funding. And then we have 38, actually to be precise, $38.7 million for school construction. That's a combination of $17 million in GO bond funding and almost $22 million contribution to the Better Schools program, the $1.1 billion school construction program, and that's a combination of beverage container tax dollars, 10% of our casino lease revenue, and the guaranteed tax base that's generated by our payment to the school system for their retiree health benefits. We build our budget around the mayor's priority outcomes. I won't go through all these, but we have streamlined our indicators. These are the things that we focus on measuring to see how we're doing for our citizens. And as I mentioned earlier, if we go to the next slide, a real focus in this budget process was how can we make our services more proactive and as much as possible do that within our existing resources. So we have Our new police contract has a schedule that matches deployment to demand, so to speak. You know, when the peak times for crime occur, we're going to have a lot more boots on the ground. So you'll see a lot more proactive policing and not having officers spending all their time just responding to calls for service. Our new approach to EMS, what we're doing is we're triaging our calls between advanced life support and basic life support. We found that 50% or more of the calls require basic life support, but we're basically sending the same solution to problems that vary in degree significantly. So this is a much more efficient way to do business. You'll see more basic life support units at peak periods, faster response times, and this actually saves us money. Cyclical tree pruning. This is, again, our urban forestry program spends almost all of its time just running around chasing 311 calls. We started piloting a proactive pruning program, and we're expanding that in this budget. And this is where, you know, neighborhoods get the pruning treatment on a cycle. And over time, we feel like that's going to, you know, keep our trees in the proper form. We have this problem with tree mortality. We want to cut down on that and reduce the storm damage that occurs when trees are not taken care of. And then we're also, within existing resources in solid waste, we're going to be deploying rub-out crews on a regular basis. Every 20 days, they're gonna see every alley, identify burrows, and bait them. So that concludes my summary of the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a few questions about schools funding.
Okay.
Do you know how much is going to after-school programs this year in comparison to the year before?
Yes. We have 6.1 million budgeted. That's the current service level for after-school programs.
And then you said that of the school construction money, the 38 billion, 22 of it was going towards the 1.1 billion plan.
Yes.
But am I wrong? Does the city not have to start paying into that yet? I thought it didn't have to pay into it until next year.
No, we've been paying. This will be our third year.
Okay.
And now, this is the first, so it's ramped up from 16 million, you know, now it's up to 20 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dovetailing, so to speak, from my colleagues from the Baltimore Sun, he reported that 2.5 million in fines, or the budget will include 2.5 million in speed camera fines.
Yeah.
Overall, I guess this is a general question for Madam Mayor. Where are you, or where's the city in getting the cameras back online?
Well, I haven't gotten an update from the council on whether or not they need any additional information. My commitment to the city council was that we wouldn't put out the RFP until they were done taking a look at our speed camera program. We supplied them with additional resources that they requested so that they could take a look at the information that we had about the previous contract. So I can get an update from them about where they are. I don't know if you have any other information.
No, and that
Is that a placeholder?
that dollar amount is, we expect, would be getting the cameras up during sometime in the second half of the fiscal year. So not a whole lot of activity. I think we're being conservative in terms of that number.
In general, what percentage of assessed property taxes does the city actually end up collecting?
Our collection rate is about, it's been about 98%.
Considering you said the revenue picture that's been, why not a property tax or personal property tax reduction, considering that Baltimore remains double and on the personal property side more than double?
Well, remember when I said that we were going to reduce property tax for homeowners. I said that I would do it steadily and I would do it responsibly. And I said that I would do it over a 10-year period. And we are in that 10-year plan, as Andrew said, we are 4 years in, 60% of that reduction has been made already. So again, to the responsibly side, taking a look at the revenue sources that we expected to use for our homeowner property tax reduction. We thought it was fiscally responsible to hold steady that reduction since we were ahead of schedule, so we can continue, as I said, steadily but responsibly, so we can continue to make that progress.
So just looking down the road, since we're now only, 4.5 years from that point, this is, but as you see it in terms of Baltimore's property tax rate and personal property tax rate, this is it. I mean, 20 cents is it. There's no, plan as you're budgeting to go below that. And I say that because it remains double at that rate.
Well, I'll speak to it and then I'll bring Andrew in. The first, I agree that we have a competitive, our tax competitiveness is a key component in our 10-year financial plan. That's why you have seen the most significant property tax reductions in I don't know how many years. Ever in the city. So in order to continue that plan, again, we have to do it in a way that is fiscally responsible, because I don't want to jeopardize the highest combined bond rating that the city has had in over 50 years. To say that it would be I don't think would be a fair assessment of where we are, because I'm doing this work and putting us in a better position, so we will be in a better position to work towards even stronger tax competitiveness in the future. The 10-year financial plan that I intend to see through is it is this 10 years, and then we'll move from there, and we will take that next step in a fiscally responsible way.
I would just add, if I could, the 10-year plan goes through 2022. It calls for additional property tax reduction after 2020. So that's not the end of it as we see it. Same time, you saw the chart. I mean, we've got to find more solutions to close the structural deficit and make sure we can fund the tax relief and the infrastructure investment that we laid out in the plan. Now, when we put that plan together, we did our economic projections and we were conservative. We didn't assume the growth that we are aiming for in population. And we're starting to see that growth. So if that continues, that's quote unquote icing on the cake. That's going to help us close that structural deficit and provide more tax relief.
On that, do you see a point where we might actually start being able to provide tax relief for property taxes for businesses?
That would be our hope. Yeah.
How much money is in the rainy day fund, and how does that compare to the previous year?
So the rainy day fund, with the additional amount in this budget, which is $6.75 million, will be at about $112 million. So our current goal, the goal in the 10-year plan, was to get to the 8% of revenue. That's around $125 million. We are finishing up a risk-based reserve analysis, and we'll put that report out. We're looking at, based on the city's unique circumstances, what should we be setting aside? And we're looking at maybe having two funds, one for emergencies, things we don't foresee, and another to stabilize our revenues during economic downturn.
How much is the city saving to remove the proactive city services? You said saving money, but how much?
The one that saves money is the EMS, and not a lot of money. I just think it's remarkable that we're going to be providing such better service and actually seeing, even if it were just break even, I think that would be impressive. But we expect to see 250 to 500,000 in savings, and those savings could grow if we find that. Right now we're assuming about 50% of the calls are basic life support versus advanced. We suspect that it's actually more than that. It's more like 70-30. But we want to make sure before we make any changes to the configuration we're planning. And but to the extent that there's more BLS, that will drive costs down further.
On the capital side, I I know that you mentioned a big drop because of one particular wastewater project. Are there any particular major costs or major investments this year that are worth highlighting?
Not on that scale. We're continuing the 10 million a year investment in whole block demolition, relocation. A lot of the action, as usual, is on the water wastewater side. So we have, just looking, 74.6 million for the Fullerton water filtration plant. There's a 16.8 million in state support for the renovation of the central library in this budget. Those are a couple of the major items that are in the capital budget.
And then kind of playing off that, sometimes it's capital, sometimes it's other, but economic development, and anything going on there that's big into this year?
We have, there's 11.6 million total for economic development. I don't have the list of projects in front of me, but
Last year?
I don't have that.
Can we ask some questions about the board of estimates as well?
As soon as we're done with the budget question.
That 98% collections, that's of the whole dollars expected, or is that accounts, or is that?
That's of the dollars expected, yes.
And then, if I could just get in one more quick one, we're seeing here, it's economic recovery, it's property values that are really leading this charge.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's not necessarily, it's actual property values that are increasing as opposed to a huge influx of residents or businesses at this point.
I mean, on the property tax side, I mean, we obviously we've seen some large projects like the casino, but actually the percentage-wise, the biggest increases in value are on the commercial side as opposed to the residential side. So yeah, we're seeing it across the board.
Thank you.
So have you seen any discernible effect yet from the decreased property tax in terms of the budget or revenues, or is that not come in yet?
That's very hard to say. We certainly think that as we bring that down, we're going to become more competitive relative to our peers, our surrounding counties. But to be able to say how much of the growth is attributable to that, I mean, we were ahead of the statewide average for property value increase in 15. So I think that's a good sign.
One more, and I asked you this yesterday, but I'd like to ask the mayor this. There's $6 million for the circulator. Does that signal your intention to keep it funded at the same level for next year?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. It signals my intention to keep the circulator as a quality service for our citizens. I know that in order to make sure that it's a sustainable service over the long term, there'll need to be changes, and we're taking a look at that, and I anticipate getting the full report from the Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank
Can I ask a question about board of estimates?
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, all right. You approved today, the board of estimates approved today a $3,000 expense from Ron Holton to travel to Hawaii for a NACO conference that is specifically for the western states. Is there a mechanism in this, what is the mechanism in the city and in your administration that vets, sure, it's a little bit of money, but it's the kind of thing that kind of jumps off the page to the public, which obviously has been struggling with, not wage growth and not any kind of income growth over the past 10 years. And so what is the process in your administration that looks at these expense requests that come through and says, okay, or questions it? What happens?
So you have to understand a couple of things. Number one, she's an independently elected official, and so is the city council president. And the city council president sets the travel budget. He establishes the travel budget for his office and the city council. They submit it. If it is a legal request. I don't interfere, nor do I with the comptroller's travel request.
It's all city money. I mean, I'm sure it's in their budget, but it's all city money. I just.
So you understand the concept of them being
Understood.
independently. So
Yes.
I don't, just like as much as I would love to control how they vote and their agenda for every Monday, I do not. It is a separate branch of government.
Do you think it's necessary for a city council member to go to Hawaii for a conference of the Western states?
I don't have all of the details on this specific travel request, but again, I don't. It's approved by the Board of Estimates, but I don't set the travel policy for the city council president or any of the council members.
There was a, go ahead.
Does the city do business in Indiana?
I'm not sure how much, as far as like travel.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's not enough to be significant that that I know about.
The city approved today $60,000 in back pay to an officer who was accused of soliciting a minor.
Mm-hmm.
According to Mr. Nilsson, the case went away for whatever reason. Do you know if and under the contract, they have to pay the back pay, it's the union contract. Do you know if do you have any information on whether he's facing disciplinary charges internally?
Yeah, I don't have any additional information about that.
We do one more guy.
Thoughts on the O's heading into the,
The next is, oh no, actually their season starts Monday.
The 10th, right?
Away.
Yeah, but the opening day is what, the 10th, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah, same with the next one.
I am extremely optimistic about our.
How long have you been saying that?
Hopefully, well, that's not true. The question should have been how long have you meant that, not how long have I been
How long
saying.
have you meant that?
I have meant it over the past few years. I've been saying it like many have said, the whole time. But yeah, look, the O's have given us a lot of reasons to be hopeful, and I was very pleased with the season that we had for all of the reasons that most of our fans are. We're thrilled, but as mayor, even more grateful for the incredible season because I know what that means when it comes to jobs and opportunities in the city. So I'm looking forward to a great opening day, and hopefully, spring will actually, fingers and toes crossed. We've been waiting for a real sign of spring and spring-like weather. Hopefully it will be opening day because it hasn't been anything up to this point. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
You